Today's webinar is Searching on FamilySearch. We are beginning on our historical records page. To be able to navigate to this page, you are going to select Search on the top left-hand side of the screen and then select Records. Our objective: we will effectively learn how to access and search the record collections available on FamilySearch, including unindexed records. This is important because FamilySearch has a vast collection of records. More than 70% of those records are unindexed. It's important to learn how to access these records that may contain information that you are looking for. We are going to talk about 3 different ways that you can search on this page. So you can get started searching for your ancestors. On this page, you can search index records, which will be discussed, which is this box right here. You can search by collection. You have to know the title of the collection to be able to search here. And you can also search by place, which is by country, province, or state. We'll be discussing how to search by collection and by place later in the presentation today. But first, we are going to be discussing how to search the index collections. Please know that only about 30% of all of the records available on FamilySearch are indexed. There are some great tips to help you create an effective search using the indexed records. First step, you are going to want to start with a research goal. You're going to want to search with a goal in mind. These goals can be as simple as searching for the marriage record for John Doe and Mary Jane, or they can be more detailed. For example, find John Smith in the 1900 United States Census. You're going to want to start off by searching very general. You're going to want to start broad and then slowly refining your search. For example, you're going to want to start with as little bit of information as possible. So for example, a name and a place. So for my example search today, I am wanting to search for my ancestor Don. So I entered his first name in the first name box, and then his last name is Page. And then I know that he lived in Provo, Utah, so I'm going to be adding that into my place field here. And you're going to want to make sure that you select from the drop-down list here. If you do not, you will not get the best results and it will not add a place into your field here. And some more tips to the effective search, which we will see in process, is information about dates. When using a date, you are going to want to include a date range instead of an exact date or year. Many times, the age of an individual will be included in a record instead of their birth date. The reported age of an individual can be incorrect, which is why using a year range is better than using an exact year. Depending on the time of the year, the person might be 19 and a few months shy of turning 20, for example. So that's one reason why you want to include a range instead of an exact year or birth date. And we also have spelling variations. In records, names are typically spelled according to the way they sound. This means that there is no standard way for a name to be spelled. For example, the surname Smith can be spelled as Smithy or Schmidt. You may need to experiment with the spellings of your ancestor's name. So for our example search, we entered our information here, and now I am going to want to select the yellow search box here with the magnifying glass. And on the top left-hand side of the screen, I see that we have over 3,471 results for a Don page with something to do with Provo, Utah. That is quite a lot of results. Now I'm going to show you how to refine your search. So I have my name here. We're going to leave that the same, but we have different life events. These are different filters that you can use to narrow your search. They're all going to be located on the right-hand side of your screen here. So I have different life events I can add. I can add birth, marriage, residence, or death. I recommend only adding 1 or 2 of these different filters and then add more depending on what results you are getting. So for example, I am going to add my birth life event here. I'm going to select birth. And I know that Don Page was born in 1930. So I am going to add a nice year range that will include any possible birth dates given for him, birth years given in any of the documents. So for my first year, I'm going to add 1927. And then 2, I'm going to add 1933. And I'm not going to be adding a birthplace because I don't want to extremely limit the results here. And the same information, the place, and the year range is going to be the same for the marriage, the residence, and also the death there. And I can also add a family member. So I can add a spouse, a father, a mother, or other person. For this one, I'm going to be adding a father. I know that Donald's father was Douglas. And of course, his last name is Page. And then I have some other information here. It says add other record options. And the one that I want to highlight is its image group number, DGS, or film number. So if you only want to search for a specific collection with a specific DGS number, you are going to want to add that image here. I don't recommend adding that unless you know exactly which collection you are wanting to search. And that can, of course, very narrow and limit your results based on that one collection. And lastly, at the bottom of the screen here, I have toggled on Show Exact Search. This is enabled. So if I check a box, it will only show me the exact field. And what boxes might those be? Under any of the filters here, at the right-hand side of the screen, I can check the box here, just like that. And now I have the exact match turned on for the name of Don's father. And it would only show me exact for Douglas. The exact spelling, for example, would be what I would see. So I'm going to toggle that off. And the same goes for the place and the year range there. And I'm going to want to see now what kind of search results I get. So I am going to update the search by clicking on the blue search box here with a magnifying glass found at the bottom right-hand side of the screen here. I now get 411 results that all have something to do with a Don Page in Provo, Utah, with the father, Douglas Page, with my year of range of birth year, 1927 to 1933. You can see if we scroll down here, we get quite a bit of results. The first one, I automatically know that it's for my Don Page because he's living in Provo, Utah. he has the right approximate birth year, and his parents are correct, Douglas Page and Ruth Page. And you can see that some of that other information is found in these two sources here. And I'd have to research and check out to see if any of the other sources are him. But I automatically know that this Homer Page is not for my ancestor there. So we're going to check out the first result here. And to be able to do that, you can click anywhere on this little gray highlighted box that highlights the information found in the record here. And I clicked anywhere on the box, and now I can select View Record here that popped up on the right-hand side of the screen. Or if you want to skip that step, you can click directly on the individual's name that highlighted Donald E. Page, underlined there, and I am taken right to the record. And I get some indexed information. I know I see the name Donald E. Page. He was 19 years old. His approximate birth year is 1921, and he's from Utah. That's where he was born. And then we also get the index information for his parents, Douglas Page, and his mother, Ruth Page. If I wanted to see all of the index information for Ruth, I would select the arrow, and when I highlight it, it says expand this section. Once I click there, it now expands Ruth's indexed information there. And I want you to be aware that the indexed information can be incorrect, and also it does not supply all of the information found in the record. So it's always best practice to view the original whenever possible. To view the original document, I am going to select the picture of the image itself found on the left-hand side of the screen, or I can select View Original Document here. I am going to select the image of the record here. And this one is really nice because it underlines in yellow the name of my ancestor here. So if I zoom in here, I see that the yellow highlights Donald E. And then I see the head of house here, which is his father, Douglas Page, his mother, Ruth, which is the wife to Douglas, and their son is Donald. I see the different their years, how old they were in this 1950 census, where they were born, and some other information. You will see here that what we did not find in that index information is the occupation of Don's father. He is an accountant in a steel making factory. And then I'm just going to exit out this here. And then I'm going to show you what other results you can get. So I am now going to take out the name of his father because I want to see if this is limited what kind of search results I get. So I'm going to delete this information here. And then I'm going to, once again, update my search by clicking on the blue search box with the magnifying glass found at the right-hand side of the screen here. And I want to note that currently I have 411 results. Now I get 431 results. So there was about 20 results that were not showing up with having the name of Don's father in the information here. And quite a few more records for Don Page pop up at the top of the screen here. I know that all of these pertain to Don. And of course, we see some of the other records that we saw with our other search result. So this is just a great example to be able to play with the different results and search filters that are found on the right-hand side of the screen. And for more searches on how to create an effective search in this indexed records only, you are going to want to visit the article found in the FamilySearch Help Center. This link to this article is going to be found in your handout. So to be able to get back to that records search page we were on, I am going to select the FamilySearch tree icon found at the top left-hand side of the screen. And then I'm going to go back and select search found at the top left-hand side of the page. And then I'm going to select records. And that article that I was just talking about found in your handout can also be found here where it says tips for effective searches, found at the left-hand side of the page. Now we are going to be discussing how to search by a collection. You are going to want to use this option if you want to search for a specific collection. For example, you can search the option to search for the 1900 United States Census. These collections can appear in a variety of ways. Some of them are indexed records only. So I'm going to show an example of that kind of search here. I'm going to be typing in world, miscellaneous, and I have 3 different options here. I'm going to select World Miscellaneous Births and Baptisms here. And you're going to want to make sure that you select from the list of collections. If you do not, you will not be able to search a collection there. And I want to note that every collection has some information about the collection found on the left-hand side of the page here. It tells me that this World Miscellaneous Births and Baptisms is an index. It does not mention anything about images. Only a few localities are included, and the time periods vary by locality. Due to privacy laws, recent records may not be displayed. And the year range represents most of the records here. This year range from 1534 to 1983. A few records may be earlier or later. So since this collection is indexed, we have the exact search fields that we had previous on our previous search example for Don Page. I'm going to make this very broad, so I'm just searching for an individual that has a last name Smith. And then I'm going to, once again, select my search box with a magnifying glass. And I have quite a few results that have anything to do with an individual with the last name Smith. You can see that our places are quite varied. We have New Zealand, we have China, United Kingdom, Romania, etc. So I'm going to select one for Robert Smith, who was born in China here. I'm going to select his name again. And I'm taken to that index-only record. I get quite a decent amount of information here. I have his name, of course. I have the name of his father, James Smith, and his mother, Minnie. And I have his date of birth and the exact place in China where he was born. So this is just one example of a collection that only houses indexed-only records. I am going to go back now. I'm going to select my back arrow found at the top left-hand side of the screen. And I'm going to go back one more time. And then the next collection is a type of collection that is image only. So for example, I'm going to search for a Utah Uinta marriage record collection here. I'm going to select that from the list here, and I get taken to this page. It tells me that this is an image of marriage applications and certificates located in the county courthouse in Vernal, Utah. And I am going to have to browse the images to be able to see what I am looking for in this Utah Uinta marriage collection. I'm going to select browse all 8,687 images there. And then I'm going to now follow the different prompts that it is giving me. So I am going to select vital records here. And then there is the different types of collections that are available. You are going to want to navigate until you can find what you are looking for. So for example, I am going to select marriage license records in 1896. So I'm going to select the blue underlined title there. And now I am taken to only one of 2 images found in this year. So this is quite a small collection for this specific year. And to be able to toggle to the next image, I am going to want to select the right-hand arrow that I highlighted, and it's telling me that it means next there at the left-hand side of the screen. And now I see this marriage application to marry. And then the information that I would be looking for is right here. And you can also do the same exact filtering for a collection that is indexed. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to select search to the top hand right hand of the screen, top left hand side of the screen here. And then I'm going to select records again. And I'm going to show you this with the United States Census for 1900. I recommend doing this if you know that your individual lived in a specific place, but you are not able to find them in the index search. So I'm going to select the United States Census 1900 here. And to be able to get to that browse images selection, I am going to scroll down until I see browse all of the over 1 million images there. And so for example, I am just going to select Massachusetts. And the county that my ancestors lived in is Essex. And I would select the ward that they lived in prior. So I would have quite a few different wards to search through. But I know that my ancestor in the prior census, so 1800, 1880, they lived in Ward 2. So I would have these 5 different options for the Lawrence City Ward 2 that I would have to look through. But if you have a very small town, you might only have 1 or 2 options. So definitely a lot more doable depending on locality. But for example, I'm going to select the enumeration district 325. And then I get the 44 images that have something to do with this enumeration district for Lawrence in Ward 2. So that's just one way that you can go about browsing the indexed collections if you are not finding who you are looking for. And lastly, we're going to go back and use our arrow once again. And there is one last type of collection you would find here. It's a collection that has a combination of indexed records and images. I'm looking for a certain collection in Argentina. I am looking for these Catholic Church records here. So I'm going to select on the title of the collection. And then on my left-hand side of the screen here, it tells me that these records include baptisms, confirmations, marriages, deaths, and indexes. Some of the records have been indexed and are searchable, but additional indexed records will be published as they become available. So this is very great. You want to make sure that you read the information found about the collection there. We're going to go back to that records page. So I'm just going to use my back arrow once again. And now we are going to want to search by place here. This feature allows you to see what available collections and resources there are for a country, state, or province that you are researching. When you enter the name of the country, state, or province, you will take into that country's research page. And for Canada, you are Mexico and the United States, you are only going to be able to search by state or province. So for example, I am going to take you to Utah. I'm going to once again select from that drop down there. So I'm going to select Utah, United States of America. And I am taking to Utah's page. There are some really great information found on this page here. So on the left-hand side of the screen, I have information about the Learning Center. There are 15 videos in the Learning Center that have something to do with Utah. So for example, the one we are seeing here is how to research in the Mountain West states. And if I scroll down, it tells me about current indexing projects available. These ones are both 100% complete, but depending on the locality, they might have some that are currently in progress and not complete. And if we scroll back to the top, it takes us to the indexed historical records that have something to do with Utah here. So I have 47 collections that are all about Utah. And if I want to see the 47 collections that are specific for Utah, I'm going to select See All Utah Collections here. And it takes me to this very nice list, and I can narrow down the searches here if I use some of the filters from the right-hand side of the screen here. You can also enter the title of the collection at the top left-hand side of the screen. I'm going to go back using my back arrow. And if I enter my information here, it would show me anything with, say, John Smith and the place of Utah there. And I can also search for genealogies. So these are typically going to be genealogies that users uploaded, perhaps. We also have oral histories that you can see in this section. So I am going to want to search for John Smith. And I'm going to select search. And it takes me to different genealogies. We have 32,000 results for my John Smith search. We can see the first one is a partner tree that has been uploaded here. These are quite of our few options here. And I'm going to want to scroll down once again. And you can see some of our image-only collections. We have Utah probate records, etc. And you can see all of the image-only collections here. I have 21 image-only collections. I'm going to go back, use my back arrow, and I am going to scroll down. And we also shows me the different catalog material that have something to do with Utah. So I am going to select See All Utah catalog material, and it takes me to the FamilySearch catalog. Here I see anything that has to do with Utah. And this list here is in alphabetical order. So I can see archives and libraries are at the top, and the Bible records, etc., as we go down the list. And one thing that I want to point out here is, of course, you can search by place, which is what we did here, but you can also search by keyword. So I'm going to take out the place of Utah. And for example, these are, you see my drop down list of some of the places I have searched lately. So I'm going to select that one and see what kind of results that we get. So I'm going to press update. And I have all of these different 9 results that have something to do with this place locality. And I want to note that if you are having a hard time finding the different records that you are looking for, searching by place, you can take the name of the city or the parish or whatever locality jurisdiction that you are interested in, and put it in the keywords field. And oftentimes you will see records that will pop up that you couldn't find in the place search. So the keywords search is going to be very valuable for you in your research on how to navigate the catalog. And how exactly do you get to the catalog? I'm going to want to press search again, and then I am going to select catalog. And you see the different fields, search by place, keywords, etc. We have a webinar specific to the catalog, so make sure that you look out for that. But I just wanted to highlight the keywords section there. And lastly, there is one other way you can search for records here. I am going to show you how to search by images. So I'm going to select search and then images. This is our historical records collection here. You can see that the records are added literally every second. All of our new images are added here in this historical images. So you're not going to find them in the catalog. You're going to find them in images. These are all of our new recently added camera captures. Not all of the metadata fields will be filled when looking at the results. If you find a mistake in the image data, please be sure to notify us by selecting this feedback box found at the bottom right-hand side of the screen. And I am going to be able to search by place here. So for example, I'm going to want to search for Berlin, Germany. And there are quite a few different results for Berlin. I see this top one, Berlin, Germany, Berlin, Brandenburg, Prussia, Germany, and also Berlin, Brandenburg, Prussia. And the last ones do not have anything to do with my specific locality. And you're going to want to make sure that you select every single place option. You're going to want to search them all, because each of these different places here, you can see that they represent a different time period. So depending on what records are available, they should be correlated with the time period. So of the different jurisdictions and localities here. So for example, I'm just going to select the top one, Berlin, Germany, and then I'm going to select search image groups. And here I have over 2,504 results that have something to do with Berlin, Germany. Now, how am I going to be able to navigate all of these images? So on the left-hand side of the screen, we have some filters here. So I am going to want to see the places within. If I know of a specific place, I can select here. So let's say I am looking for the neighborhood Charlottenburg. I am able to select that here, and I see only 22 results that have something to do with Charlottenburg. And then I also can narrow it down even more with places within, but I can also add a date range. So let's say I am looking for a record in 1870. I can add 1870 as my date there. I'm going to want to make sure that I select from the drop down there. And I can also search by life event. So for example, just in our 22 results here, we have records about military service, marriage, death, and also religious records. So I'm going to select update. And I see that we have 3 collections that include the 1870 date for whatever record I was looking for there. And then we can also open up the advanced search here on the bottom left-hand side of the page. I'm going to select Show Advanced Search. And you can also see here, we get a lot more narrow on what kind of record type is available. So we have baptism records, death records, religious death, etc. And if you happen to know a specific GGS that you are looking for, you can also enter the DGS. So for example, I'm going to select this religious death records collection, 1853 to 1875. And I open up the collection here, and on the right-hand side of the screen here, it tells me who exactly is the creator. So it tells me which evangelical church created the document. It tells me when the record became available, and it also gives me that image group, or also known as the GS number. So I'm going to copy that number there, and I also get some citation information. And to be able to navigate through these records, you can click, of course, on any of the images, or also use your toggle left and right, which we discussed earlier. So I'm going to go back, and since I copied a DGS number, I'm going to select Show Advanced Search, and I'm going to type in that DGS number that I was given. Then I'm going to press Update. And it brings right to the top that specific collection there. And if you know the creator, you can type in the creator. So for example, in the record that we just looked at was that evangelical church. So you can add that there. And you can also add a keyword if you are looking for a certain surname, volume, title, etc. So that is just some of the ways to be able to navigate images. But if you want to look at the larger jurisdiction, you would select Berlin, this blue Berlin there. And then since I have, filtered all of the results, I would need to go ahead and delete all of the results or the filters that I added. And then I would click Update again. And I get back to those 2,504 results that have something to do with Berlin, Germany. And I want to show you the advanced filters now since we have so many more results. You can see that we really have a larger span of records types. And you can see we have biographies now, some census documents, even business records. But this can help you see exactly what is available for the different localities. And then we're going to go back to images. So I'm going to select Search and Images. I just want to highlight one more time the different jurisdictions that you are going to get for all of these places. So the last place that I want to look up today, we'll just say Neudorf. Of course, this is a very common name if you're familiar with German research here. But let's say that I want this one in the Bas-Rhine in France. And it's giving me quite a few different options. So I would want to make sure that I select every one that is specific to that locality that I am looking for. And I would look through them all because each of the different localities or different jurisdictional information is going to give me more information. So for this one, I happen to come across no results found. And one helpful way to do that, to see if there's anything for this locality, would be to select the upper locality. So the bus line here, and we get many results over 4,000. And I would want to select see if my place that I randomly chose is going to be found within this places within. Sometimes this can be a way around it. So let's say it's not coming up when you type in the place, but if you go to the larger jurisdiction, sometimes you can see it within the places within. So that can be one way around what you are looking for. So I also want to mention that. And today we learned how to effectively access and search the record collections on FamilySearch, including all of the great unindexed collections that are available.